I'd like to welcome everybody to the Berwick Planning Board meeting. It's a regular meeting for Thursday, May 17th, 2018. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Planning Board members present tonight, alternate Sean Winston, regular member David Dow, Niles Shore, the Vice Chair Paul Bovair, Nicole Facto, also alternate Mike LaRue. We have the town planner here. We also have the town planning technician slash Facebook administrator slash webmaster slash chairman of Envision Berwick, James Billismo. Nice to have you here. Before we start off, I'd like to recognize our town planner as his birthday.
Happy birthday. Thank you, Mr.
Happy
Chairman.
birthday.
Thank you.
Since you all recognized me 2 weeks ago. Moving on to public comment session is open to any resident or property owner in the town of Berwick to talk about anything that relates to the planning board. We do have a public hearing this evening scheduled, so I would just ask that you would just reserve your comments for the public comments or the public hearing. Public comment session is open. Feel free to come to the podium. Going once, going twice. I'll close the public comment session. We'll have another one at the end of this meeting. Moving on to the approval of minutes, the May 3rd, 2018 meeting. What do you have? Whoa, Sean Winston. Sean Winston out with the red pen.
Let me come back. You should have told me to stay home.
What do you got?
Wow.
And he wasn't even here for the meeting,
Yeah, you should.
but that's okay. What do you got?
Third page at the top. Installed an electoral service. I think that's supposed to be electrical, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
Already got it.
Is that where we're going? Is
Hold
that
on,
where we're
you know
going to
what?
vote?
I'll second that mistake.
Yes, he's got that.
We go there to vote now. Is that right?
What else do you have?
And then further down in that, where it says activities have clearly commences, probably should be commenced. The next,
Yeah, Niles Shore pointed to
Yes.
page 102. Yeah, commenced. Okay.
that was it.
All right, what do you have, Paul?
I only had one, not two.
And that was that?
Yeah.
He actually
The new-
got, wow.
No, I found something you didn't, Paul. What?
Yeah.
You're
so
the new-
James,
you're the new grammar
I'd watch
teacher
out
here.
for Sean.
Yeah, watch out.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're fired.
If we have no other additions or corrections, the motion would be for approval of the minutes as amended
I'll move. We approve the minutes as amended.
I will.
and seconded by Niles. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hands. That's 5-0. Okay.
I can be faster.
Th-
with my
Those are the
second.
most fun minutes I think I've had all year.
I know, right? I'd like to open the public hearing now for Ready Mix Companies Incorporated, expansion of garage for wash bay. 541 Portland Street, map R72-7A, RCI District. Applicant, if you'd like to come forward to the podium. Feel free, this is your public hearing now, and then I'll open it up to the rest of the public.
Ready Mix Companies. I'm Justin Dunsick with Ready Mix Companies. We're just proposing to add to our current garage a 24 by 60 wash bay, which will, that's about it.
Okay. The public hearing is, if that's all that you have, that's fine, because we're going to get to that in old business. I just wanted to give you
Oh,
the
okay.
opportunity if you wanted
Yeah, I
to.
don't have anything new.
Okay.
You said you had a handout for us?
I do have that, yes, I do have something new.
Something new?
And it's blue, too.
Is anybody in
This
the,
is just a.
is anybody in the audience here, here for the public hearing this evening? No? Are you here for the public hearing? Okay. All right.
Pass it down. It's just, there's not enough, but it's details about the wastewater evaporator we'll have.
Oh, good.
All right, seeing nobody else come forward to speak here at the public hearing. I'm going to close the public hearing. Moving on to old business, Ready Mix Companies Incorporated, expansion of garage for Wash Bay, 541 Portland Street, map R72-7A, RCI District. Mr. Town Planner,
Yes, sir. We had the site walk tonight. I don't believe that any issues came with the site walk. The applicant showed us where the new bay was going to be located, indicated that the bay was not going to be as tall as the current building that's located in that area, which is about 2.5 stories, I'd say, in height. I think everybody was comfortable with the aggregate bin location, which I had raised in my initial memo in relation to movement around it. The only outstanding issue that is a minor issue, but is the location of the dumpster, which I believe the applicant indicated on site was going to be moved to around the back side of the building where there's already another dumpster located in that location. Other than that, I have the draft findings of fact in front of you tonight. I do have to make a couple of minor adjustments based on tonight's meeting. But if the board feels comfortable and is ready to vote on the application, they can do so, and I can bring the findings back to the next meeting. The applicant does not have to be present for that.
what were those additions again?
I
Findings
need
of
to-
fact?
I need to change the date on the top to May 17th. I need to add tonight's meeting and the site walk to the initial paragraph at the beginning of the findings, so that it indicates that we had the site walk this evening, that there were no major issues, that the board is comfortable. I just want to tighten that up a little bit. Other than that, I believe it's ready to go.
Okay, there's just one thing I saw in the third paragraph at the beginning here.
Yes,
Operation is being moved to this site from Farmington,
yes,
moved, just add
Oh.
a D.
gotcha.
We're real big on typos in this planning board.
Oh, I've
Real
noticed
big.
that. If that's what you found, I'm good with that.
All right, I'd like to just ask you to come back up to the podium once again. Just state your name for our viewers at home.
Justin Dunzik with Ready Mix Companies.
Okay, does anybody on the board have any questions for the applicant?
I have a couple of clarifications. I wouldn't call them questions so much, but we went to the site visit this evening, and it's pretty straightforward. And I asked a couple of questions about, I had understood that the Farmington Pike site was being moved to Berwick
Right.
a while back, and I guess that's not really the case,
No.
not quite anyway, just part of the Farmington plan. So I wanted to be sure that people know that. And then the other thing, I got very confused at the site visit because, and I think this is something that Pike Industries themselves generated, the site location. It's on the wrong side of Route 4. It's actually, no, I'm sorry, it is not. I'm confusing the tracks. I retract
Train
that.
tracks, yeah.
I retract that. Thought I had you on that one. So I'm good.
Any further questions for the
But
applicant?
just to follow up on what Paul said, so we can make clear, there is not expected to be any increased vehicular traffic
Right.
at that site as a result of
Yeah, we were
Farmington changes and this.
yeah, we're basically closing down our Farmington shop.
But
So
not
any sort of
moving-
maintenance could
not
go
moving
there.
the-
We're not moving,
the
yeah,
Operations.
right, yeah,
And the trucks to this location.
right. I mean, some may go there, but they may go to other shops also, so.
All right.
Just on the water treatment, how does this deal with like any oil or grease or anything that comes off?
So anything, there's a waste area,
Okay.
and then we will dispose of that through a disposal company.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, so we have three things that we have to vote on tonight. We've already voted that the application is complete. We've had the public hearing, we've had the site walk, so tonight we need to vote on the findings of fact, the conditions, and vote the application complete. Are we ready to move forward?
We voted for the application complete
I
already.
mean, approve the application, I'm
okay.
sorry, approve the application. Thank you.
Yeah, I did read through the findings of fact. I didn't, and I quickly read through them. I don't know if anyone read more than I did.
Do we want to hold on to the findings of fact until next week?
Well,
For 2
what I
weeks
was
from
gonna
now?
suggest is you can actually approve the application this evening with, you can add a condition if you felt you needed to, or a stipulation that the findings be adjusted accordingly based on discussions at this evening's meeting. I would adjust them, and then you'll just vote on those separately next meeting. He doesn't have to appear, and once you sign them, they can be sent directly to them.
Okay, we don't have to vote on the findings of fact tonight.
No, you do
We
not.
could just vote on the conditions and the approval.
Correct.
Okay.
As to the findings, on number 11, my thought is that perhaps if we changed it to emergency vehicles already have access to the site, and this proposed expansion should not have a negative impact on it.
I can add that.
Are we good on waiting on the, voting on the findings of facts till the next meeting and just voting on the conditions? All right, so the two conditions that we have here is per section 9.8.h.2, conditional use approval for the use stated in this decision shall expire in 1 year if that use has not commenced. Number 2, the conditional use shall ensure, we need to,
No, in your-
I'm sorry, inure.
Oh, yes, ensure,
Wait,
No.
ensure.
is it ensure or inure?
Ensure.
Inure.
Ensure.
Inure.
That's in your, yes, because that's just cut and pasted from your ordinance.
Yeah, the conditional use shall inure to the benefit of the applicant and bind its successors in the signs and shall be deemed to run with the land. So the motion will be for approval of the conditions.
So moved?
I'll second that.
And seconded, further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your hands. That's 5-0, okay? And then if we have nothing else for the applicant or for the town planner, then we could vote on approval. So the motion will be for approval of the application for Ready Mix Company's expansion of garage for wash bay.
I move that we approve the application for Ready Mix Company's expansion for garage for wash bay. Close enough?
Seconded by David. Further discussion? All in favor? Okay, that's 5-0. All right. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
and we'll vote on those in 2 weeks. 2 weeks should, we're in 2 weeks?
Correct.
Yeah.
Can
Okay.
I make a request that
Certainly.
the final version of the findings be sent to the applicant for any comments he may
Oh,
have?
absolutely. Once I get them done, I'll send them to, what's your name? To James, and then James. I'm getting old. so I'll send them to James, and James can ship them right out. So, yeah.
And then if you have anything to say, please get to us by our next meeting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing else in old business. Moving on to new business, we have a subdivision amendment, 569 Portland Street, map R72, lots 9, 9-1, and 9-2. It says applicant is Paul.
Yeah, the last name is Paul.
Is that you? Not Paul, do we have an
Representing.
agent, right?
So to introduce that application, Mr. Chairman, it's kind of a strange situation in my estimation. I've never really seen anything like it before. But the applicant had received an approval to subdivide the land into 3 lots a number of years ago, and is now looking to actually consolidate the lots so that there will only be 2 lots, although it'll be a configuration of lots. But the way the wording is in the ordinance, and Mr. Harmon had a conversation with me prior to making application, the wording is very unclear and suggests that because the land had been previously subdivided, that it would require an amendment, even though we're consolidating the lots and going to 2 lots, which under state law is not a subdivision. So he's here before you this evening. I did not provide any findings of fact because technically we're doing away with a subdivision rather than adding any lots or increasing the subdivision in any way. So
So we're terminating a subdivision.
pretty much, yes, you are.
We've done this before.
And because it's a terminated subdivision, that means that it's on the owner of the subdivision to go to Alfred in the record of deeds, right?
Correct.
With our new
Pending
pending.
vote.
Yeah, but we're going to strongly urge, yes. But this would be a circumstance like that, right? Because the subdivision will be going away.
That's correct.
What happens with this?
I'll just ask you to come to the podium, just so everybody can hear you.
What happens with this?
If you could just state your name too, just for the record.
I'm
Sorry.
Tom Harmon from Civil
I'm sorry.
Consultants.
Social
No
Security
problem.
number all.
What happens with this is that they want to transfer the properties as shown on the plan. And to do that, they'd like to record a plan. State law says that you cannot alter a subdivision plan without approval. So I think there's a real question for us to try to record a two-lot plan without your approval, seeing it was a subdivision prior to that. And this is really just a technicality to do that. The other thing with it is we could not change it and leave it as a three-lot subdivision because that lot to the west is taking all the frontage that the rear lot had. So that lot would become non-conforming. So that's what brings it back to two, to keep it conforming.
So I see the two on this map. I see the two here right now. What are we eliminating? The one to the west?
Dotted.
What we're doing is the portion of Lot C, the back lot, which I consider the back lot.
Oh, yeah.
Frontage on Route 4 is being transferred to Lot B, making the rear lot, unless you combine it with Lot A, making the rear lot non-conforming because it has no frontage. So you don't do that, you go to two lots and they both have frontage and they're conforming.
So lot C and A are combining?
I don't have it in front of me.
The frontage on Lot B and the Lot B and the frontage on Lot C are being combined, that's correct. And that would be combined into one lot, and then it would effectively flip the frontage for Lot C from the west to the east portion of the property.
Say that again?
That's a little confusing.
May I approach? I'm gonna come up here and then I'll show you
That's
what's
a
going
little
on.
confusing.
So, this is what exists today. You have lot 1 here, lot 2 here, and lot 3.
These cars, storage cars.
Correct. And what they're proposing to do is to close this off and consolidate this into one lot, and then this would go to this.
Okay,
So
yeah.
this becomes a lot, and then this becomes.
Is this a non-conforming lot then? No, it's 200
No,
feet of, okay, so
because it's already
it's got
got-
200 feet of
That's
frontage.
correct, yes.
Okay, so this would
It's
be one
effectively
lot.
sale of land to an abutter
Oh, I
down
see.
here.
So this is one lot and this is another lot.
That's correct,
Okay,
yes.
But the back piece, what happens to the back piece?
It has frontage, this will become the frontage.
The frontage for the whole, for that
That's
back piece
correct.
added to the east lot.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically just flipping, it's mirror imaging this and flipping the lots
gotcha.
So,
to reverse.
so as far as county deed recording, then you'll have to record an amended subdivision, and they're gonna see two lots, and I'm wondering whether they're gonna think about. when
Yeah,
they
I mean,
see
it's,
that.
that's where it's a little screwy.
And then you're
because-
gonna file more deeds that,
What will happen when the lots will transfer, they'll transfer based on that plan, the new plan that we're.
on the new plan, and they'll reference that plan,
That's correct.
you know, but you don't put the references on the deed itself, do you?
You do for the plan, yeah.
You do,
Because when the description's written, it says in accordance with the plan.
just to prevent confusion, 100 years, just to prevent confusion in the future.
It's quite often, matter of fact, you won't even write a description for the lot, you'll simply say as depicted on plan recorded at blank blank at the registry. And that takes care of typo.
Can you somehow combine the old lot that's being changed and morphed into the new lot the way we were just shown? Can that actually be together in the county courthouse when it's recorded?
What happens, I think, is there's a note on the plan saying that this.
Okay, it'll refer,
this.
okay,
So then if you look at it,
so
then you
there's
can.
continuity there.
You can go back and
Yeah.
look at the other plan.
Yeah, where is that?
That is almost where we were for the site visit.
It's note 12, I believe. says that this plan is an amendment to the
Yes.
previously approved. My eyesight's not that bad yet.
Yeah, no, number 12
Yeah.
on this thing. Anything else? Paul?
No, once you, I'm sure a month from now, it's gonna be all confused again, but
Let's
right
hope
now it's
not.
clear.
Let's hope not. So if we have no other questions, then the motion would be for approval of the subdivision amendment for 569 Portland Street
By the I'd include by the elimination of one lot.
by the elimination of one lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could we say consolidation rather than?
You could say consolidation as well, yes, you could.
So, all right.
That would be the consolidation of 2 lots then.
Yes, it would.
That would be better.
I will make a motion to approve the subdivision amendment for 569 Portland Street by the consolidation of 2 lots.
Correct.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor? All right, that's 5-0. That
Can I
was
get a
easy.
Mylar signed?
I'm sorry?
Mylar?
Oh, do you have it with you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, bring it on over. It's been a while since I've signed some Mylar.
My lar, your lar, who cares?
Do we want to take a quick 5 minutes here and sign this Mylar so we can get this?
You want to put it up there, you want to put it over on the table here?
I put it on the table. Let's take a quick 5 minutes and sign this and then come right back. That way we can call this good. How's your day
Sure,
going?
you go first.
How are you feeling?
Good.
Yeah? Fun here, and we're not
I know,
supposed to. Next on new business is a sketch plan for minor subdivision at Cranberry Meadow and Old Sanford Road, map R42-3, applicant Clement. Yes, sir. I'll just, I'll have you come up to the podium, but I'll just start off with the town planner. Mr.
Actually,
Town planner.
the town planner does not have anything to offer at this point. I provided you no.
You're doing a good job today.
The only concern I had on the plan that was originally submitted, Mr. Chairman, is that, lot
Thank you.
3 is so noted, but not completely shown on the plan. And as part of a lot in the subdivision, it's going to need to be completely shown in whatever plan comes forward for preliminary and final approval.
Yes.
All right, sir, if you just state your name.
Hi, I'm Steve Clement. I'm here for my aunt and uncle that, actually my aunt is on the deed there for the landowner. So I gave you a proposal on what we're doing on the location, but the survey is complete on the whole piece. I just didn't have that ready for you tonight. So I just wanted to see what the agenda was on what else that you might have for a punch list on that you have any concerns of. It's not part of the residence. We're inside the 5-year deal, so it's a minor subdivision. So to be legit, I guess we need to have that recorded.
So what I'm looking at here now, these are going to be 2 lots or 3 lots?
Well, one lot's already built.
One lot's built,
What's the lot that, where is that
Lot
shown?
1 has
Lot
a
one.
house on it.
right, and the rest of it, well, the language states that 1 is raw property, right? We've done 2, and now this one's tripping the 3rd, correct?
Yeah.
Is that how the language is?
Is lot 1 a homestead exemption? Is it part of the, whoever owns the rest of the land, and have they been there for 5 years?
No.
Okay,
No.
so it's effectively a 3-lot subdivision.
Right,
Yeah.
correct. And the third of the first piece, whichever the order is raw property, which is not connected to the homestead. So we're tripping subdivision, because we're in that, and we're inside the 5 years.
So without seeing the rest of the plan, your aunt's property does not circle around Wayne's house and go up the hill and connect to your
Yeah, it does.
uncle.
Where your dirt bike trail
Yeah,
goes.
yeah.
It's a big piece, so it took a little bit longer to prepare a bigger plan with all that acreage on it, so.
So it has frontage on Cranberry Meadow and Old Sanford Road, that 3rd lot?
And Butler Avenue.
And Butler, okay. All right, so that's a huge
Yeah,
lot.
It's a very,
so the
very
third
big
lot is the
lot.
rest of this.
Right, it's all, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not attached to the homestead. Well, it's attached, but it's not the same ownership. It's
Yeah.
Pauline and then Warren and Pauline on the farmhouse. It just took a little bit more legwork to get the bigger plan done.
And it's not subdivided right now.
Correct,
So that lot 1 is its own lot, but 2 and 3,
right. It would be 2 residents on the whole parcel, and the remaining being raw property.
lot 3,
Yeah.
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's numbered, it's actually all, they're all numbered.
Correct. So the
Just that 3 wasn't
first one out on the
easy to
corner of
see.
Old Sanford and Cranberry is R2. This lot's R3, so we jump up to the 90,000 square feet. So the densities have all been done to create the 90,000 plus square feet, which gives you roughly around a 4.5 acre lot, so.
It's a nice parcel,
That's
too.
lot 2.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
think
that-
this,
We kinda had a flaw when we first did it, because the R2 line is the frontage on Cranberry,
Okay.
and then it's,
the plan is very well done. It's just a matter of getting that whole
Right.
lot shown, and as a minor subdivision, you should be well prepared to deal with this in one meeting.
Yeah.
thank you.
And the only question I would have is there a reason, and I'll direct that to Lee J.
Yep.
Is there a reason to show the entire large parcel as it wraps around Wayne Clement's house?
Well, unfortunately, the reason is the way the state law is written and the way the local ordinance is, you could exempt a lot, under, the state law would allow a municipality to exempt lots over 40 acres in size.
yeah.
If the local ordinance says that you do. We don't.
We don't, yeah.
So therefore, we have to show it as a lot in the subdivision.
To be recorded.
Correct, yes.
Right.
So there's.
We
there's-
missed that, so I didn't
yeah.
have that for you.
Although it says remaining land of Pauline Clement,
Right.
Yeah, but
Lot 3.
Lot
And
3.
it just shows it open-ended,
correct.
and you don't see how large the parcel is.
Yeah, and I mean, trust me, I'm not a person that likes to have people spend extra money if they don't have to.
Right.
but,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is a lot in the subdivision, so we gotta show it.
Makes sense.
Is this something that we would schedule a public hearing for as well?
I'm gonna look at James, I'm assuming you do public hearings for minor subdivisions as well, so.
Yeah.
You could schedule it for the same night when for the same night that they're going to come back for
Yeah.
a minor subdivision. There's no reason to
Right.
make this a 3-meeting type of operation.
Yeah.
So we're just doing a sketch plan tonight, so this is not a, we're not voting on the application tonight, application completeness or anything, either way, so we have to have a new plan.
Correct.
And any other questions for us?
No, you just need the whole perimeter piece
Yeah.
included in
Yeah.
that, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
And so I would suggest that when that's submitted, I'm assuming that it's got a lot of the data, a lot of the information, so that when it's submitted, we'll just advertise for public hearing, so that when it's on the agenda, it will be ready to go.
Sound good, James? So when are you gonna be ready with this?
I was out of town for 2 days, so I would have had everything in today,
Okay.
except the public hearing, so I'm not aware of the timeframe on the mailings and.
We're looking at
Deeper.
14 days,
We
so
know.
if you wanna do it in one shot, that's what I would look at.
Okay,
And then, touch base with James about the meeting schedule.
okay.
It's probably looking like the second meeting in June at this point, I would think. Right?
Gonna do the first?
If your plan is ready and you're gonna get it back in.
Is that a
James,
3-week?
then
Are we
This is
3
a
weeks?
this is a
Okay.
5 Thursday month.
Yeah, if it was 2 weeks, I would say,
Right,
but
yeah.
3 weeks, okay.
So
So
June
that-
the 7th is our next
That meeting date is what?
June the 7th?
7th?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can get we have the mailings,
Perfect.
half of the abutters are relatives.
That's easy.
I sold the house to the other abutter, and I'm sure they'll be fine with it,
So
so.
just let them know on the Memorial Day picnic, you just
Right,
Yeah.
go around and let everybody know.
right, we'll do that.
All right,
Excellent.
sounds good.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect.
So we have to go 3 weeks without seeing each other?
Oh my God, what are we gonna do? Let's FaceTime each other.
I still wanted to have FaceTime Niles in when he was gone for a couple meetings.
That would be
If I
fun.
have any other body parts removed, we should.
We could set him up here on an
Let's arrange
iPad.
that.
All right.
All right.
Number 5 is something that we discussed last meetings, is an amendment to section 6.4.2.6.f. And pretty much everything that is on here are all the changes that we made last time, but we wanted to see it. We wanted to see it before we voted on it.
Correct.
And we did share it online too.
I saw that.
I heard about it.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Anybody, everybody good with this? This is pretty much everything that we, number 5.
I've mixed them all up now, but I didn't read it.
Why is your book all out of order?
Yeah.
It's like,
Too many,
wanna look at
too
mine?
many sections. No, I did read that. That's just the change that we,
I think there's an extra,
there's an extra bullet in
there.
I'm trying to confuse Paul.
Just wait till you go to iPads.
Yeah.
Well, I think we all talked about voting on this, right? And then just adding this and just checking this off of our list of amendments that we would make to the land use ordinances for the November meeting, so.
Is this gonna be added to like a list of amendments that's gonna be like
Yes.
one
This
fell
is gonna be, like as
approval
we're,
or denial?
right, as we're
Okay.
coming up with things, you
Right.
know, for our list of, like
Okay.
our bang list of things that we want to knock out.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we separate things out, especially controversial things.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that it doesn't blow up the really good
Some
stuff
things
that
go
we're
well
trying to
together,
do.
other
Yeah.
things look,
Like peanut butter and
they look
jelly,
out of
peanut butter and
place.
pickles.
Yeah,
Yeah. Is this a pickle? Or is this jelly?
No.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, this is jelly.
This is jelly? Okay.
This is jelly.
I have a question.
This was something I've wanted for a while, so this is jelly. I think this is an easy one, you know?
Sean has a
I
question.
have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys discussed this at the last one. I know on the last part,
The ratio will only affect parcel formerly known as prime tanning and structures contained with frontage on Wilson Street, School Street, and Sullivan Street.
Yeah.
What if they put another street in there?
The intent was to surround the border. The street going through the middle should not.
Should be
Yeah.
encompassed.
The intent was to make it that triangle piece of property,
I just don't know
not,
if that
not the
mystery
blue
street had to be
building.
called out or not.
Well, but at the moment, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So as of when the town will vote, this is the border.
And then we can change this.
Yeah.
At that point.
Sure,
If
I
we need
mean,
to or
we
not,
can
I
say
don't-
including any frontage along
Don't worry
Mystery
about it.
Street.
now.
But the way that it stands now is if a developer came in, you know, tomorrow and wanted to put something in there, they would have to, or I say after this gets approved
Yeah.
in November, hopefully, you know, they'd have to stick to that 4-to-1 ratio inside those streets. And if they name a street in there, it doesn't exist yet. So I think we're covered on that for now.
And it would be within the border that we're describing anyways.
Yeah.
So pretty much, it's a 7.5 acres out of the 12 acres of prime tanning.
I would
And-
make a request that since we say here that the statistic is being tracked by the planning department, that you just make a note to sort of report maybe a couple of times a year as to where we are.
Sure.
Just so our listeners and the board
Sure.
will keep up to date.
This man is excellent with statistics and data.
He
I'm
is.
well aware of
We
that.
love that about him.
Well, what do you want to vote on this individually, or do you want to just check this off our list, tuck this in, you know, in a folder, and then come back in once we have
Yeah.
our deadline when the town clerk says you have to vote on everything and have a public hearing by this date, then, you know, instead of doing it piecemeal voting that way, we just vote on one big thing, or do you want to just vote on this now?
Can we?
Can you,
Can we vote
sure,
on it, not forward it to the selectmen at this stage?
Well, you can do that later.
well, you can, I mean,
That's my question. I mean, I don't,
you can.
I could look, but you know.
You can vote on it and move it to the selectmen today, but the reality is it's not gonna get on the, you know, on the warrant until November
No, I
anyway.
understand that, but if the amendment has a time deadline and we just sit on it,
Yeah,
at the time
I
deadline.
mean, I don't think that that's an issue, Dave. The chairman is correct, and I mean, if you wanna compile a bunch of different ordinance amendments and then vote on them one at a time at that time, or as a group of stuff, I don't think there's anything in any regulations that say you cannot do that.
So wouldn't the key be if we're sure that we want this, and you know, if we're sure we want it, we do it now, and just tuck it away?
Do it now? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Vote on it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
do
So I
that.
think
I
we
mean,
have a
If we're sure
consensus. I think
this
we've
is
all,
what we want, I think
Okay.
we feel comfortable with it.
yeah,
I mean, I
okay,
do.
okay.
I don't think there's any law, any
No, I don't think so
laws or
either.
regulations that say you can't do it any way you want. So if you're ready to vote on it now, you can vote on it. I don't think there's a clock ticking that says that if you vote on it now, that it, you know, it has to be approved by the select board of the voters in the next 60 or 90 days or anything, so.
Well, would anybody like to make a motion? The motion would be for amending section 6.4.2.6.
I will make that motion, that we approve, is that the right word? Approve this,
That you recommend amendment of.
We recommend
Yeah.
that this be passed on to the Board of Selectmen at the appropriate time.
At the appropriate time, yeah.
Sure.
And I'll second that.
Okay,
Yeah.
further discussion? All right, all in favor? All right, yeah, that's it, 5-0.
Great.
All right.
So,
I'll
in-
check that one off my to-do list.
So in summary, pretty much what it does, it brings us back to the roots of when we were looking at envisioning Berwick and prime tanning, that we wanted commercial with whatever residential ends up there. I mean, that's the goal. And I think we'll have to explain that at some future point.
I know you're not ready for the design standards
Yep.
tonight, because you
Yep.
conveniently forgot it on your birthday, which is completely
Shocked.
fine.
I'm getting old, I can't
However,
remember
I
these
did have a
things.
question, and I think Niles
Yes.
asked last time again, was where do we stand on recreational marijuana ordinance?
Yes. Actually, because of the joint workshop that we're having Tuesday with the select board, I had emailed the town manager and asked him if we ought to put that on the agenda for discussion with them. I'm feeling like I need some direction. I don't know whether the direction's from you folks, or it should probably include the select board, because they're inevitably gonna have to, recommend something for the warrant. I don't know whether we want to deal with retail stores and retail sales, or just growth, manufacturing. I've got some different ideas on how to do that. Whether, I understand that there's at least one person that thinks we ought to have really high application fees. I don't feel overly comfortable with that, because the fees should be in line with other fees, but we could put a process in place that requires proposals to be submitted, and that the town limit the, growers to one grower per town, or 2 growers per town, and you put out an RFP. And the best bidder, whatever the best is, the best for the town, gets the award. So there's a number of ways to do it. I'd rather not just go off on my own, if you will, and give you something. I'd like some direction from some folks.
Can you email to us what the new state law is, so we could take a look at it?
Sure,
I can do that too.
sure. I mean, just remember, again, the state law is out there, but the rules haven't been created yet.
Right, that's still.
I understand.
And that's
Still
what we
rulemaking.
need.
One must say something, let's find out what it says.
Yeah, that's easy.
See, Elliott, a couple weeks ago, they did the same thing that we requested the selectmen do, is pass that moratorium so that the
Right.
planning board can have an opportunity. So I know that they're thinking the same thing.
Sure.
Is it premature to actually start writing land use ordinances surrounding recreational marijuana if there's no rules yet?
Well, not necessarily, because if you're going to be in favor of allowing some sort of retail, I don't think starting now is an issue. If rulemaking makes modifications, then we can make some changes to it, but I think we need to have a direction and need to start drafting something.
Something like, for instance, whether or not there's going to be permitted social club. Well, the social clubs
Social
is out.
clubs are gone.
They're
Social
out.
clubs is out. That's right. That's right.
out.
But I mean, if the town just wants to go completely agricultural with this, or they actually want to have shops, or both.
Correct. And then it's, do we want to limit it to 1 or 2? Do we want it to become a proposal process?
Where do you put it?
Where to put it? You're going to want to have, and James and I were talking about it today, for what it's worth, you're going to want to put like 1,000-foot circumferences on a map around your schools. You clearly don't want it within 1,000 feet of schools, just like, the drug law has. Do you want to include churches or places of worship in that prohibition area? So
I'm
it'll
sure there's going to
eliminate-
be even residences too that would be opposed to having.
There may be, absolutely.
I
So-
think that's going to be the big question, I think, is where are you going to
Correct.
allow whatever is allowed?
Correct.
And I think in public hearings, it's going to be a very interesting process.
I'll say something in full disclosure. So Rick, through a mutual, they coach baseball together, has a coworker, and we went on a sidewalk together, and Rick and I didn't know at first really what his interest was. Turns out his interest was retail marijuana, and I'm going to be sending an email to Mark introducing him to this guy. His name's Joe. He wants to sell marijuana here in downtown Berwick, so.
As long as there's no housing.
Take up a lot of space.
Well,
Sorry.
this is
say
why this is why we need to get something done, because, I mean, whether or not your opinions about it is irregardless. If it's legal, it's legal. But do we really want the first business going in at our brand new development being I don't know. And I know that it's very contested in this town, even though the town voted
For it.
for it
Right.
by 6, by a 3 to 5, 3-2 margin or whatever, but there's also, I know the people were in favor, people voted for the moratorium.
That's why I'd like a little direction on where we need to head with this and what we need to include or not, and before I just jump off the.
Well, we've been asking for the selectmen for that for a while, and we really haven't gotten much direction. You know, we've gotten a direction from the town manager, came in with the police chief, that they don't want it here at all by any means, absolutely at all. I don't think that that's necessarily a realistic thing, personally, but we haven't really got much direction. Although they did listen to us about the moratorium. They did, you know, they were accepting of that, and we said, you need to give us some time to write some land use ordinance. So I mean, can't we just do it ourselves and just present it to them? And then they can kick it back and say no.
If that's what you'd like, I mean.
Because you know what, at this point, there's so, I know the personalities that are in play, and everybody has a hard line on it, yes or no. So here's what we came up with.
I can start drafting something for you, but give me some direction, because you know, this is gonna have to be a standalone ordinance, if you will, you know, a section in the ordinance, because we're gonna wanna lay out the standards of, you know, so far from schools and so far from places of worship, and, you know, there's things that we're gonna need to build into this. It's not gonna just be, retail sales in, you know, R1.
I think that I'll tell you, I think you should, agriculture or sales should be out on Route 9 or out on Route 4.
When you say agriculture, I think manufacturing. Are you looking to allow outdoor grow facilities or indoor grow facilities?
Pretty much it's been defined by most towns as a non-agricultural product.
That's non-agricultural, yes.
Non-agricultural
Correct.
product.
Correct. And there's, beyond the growing, there's also processing that needs to occur. So do we want to allow that? I mean, are we allowing the whole gamut of that aspect of it, and then allowing retail sales?
Shouldn't we have some kind of a public straw vote or a hearing even before we send Lee J out to come up with something? So we get like.
A survey was done.
A survey would be great, like
survey has already been completed.
where would you want it?
Hold on, listen.
A survey has already been completed that got about anywhere from 200 to 300 responses that broke out each individual use. If you remember, there's 5 uses. I can provide that to everyone.
Okay.
Where did this survey come from?
Survey was initiated from our town manager, and we did it, I think it was mostly predominantly done online as a straw poll.
But we've also
online polls, just to put that out there.
Trust the Facebook.
I don't trust the Facebook.
But we've also
There's
got.
no regulation of online polls, though.
We've also had 2 votes in the town one that was in favor of legalizing recreational
level.
marijuana on the state level.
State level.
But then number 2, they didn't want it here in town yet. They wanted the moratorium. They didn't want it in the backyard. So it's kind of conflicting. You know, what are the people in the town want? Do they want to have a recreational marijuana facility next to Subway? You know, I mean, do they want that, or do they want it out on Route 4?
I think the safe way to start this is to, and I agree with Nicole, that you get about 1/3 of the total population with the online stuff. And
but there's also no guarantee that they live in Berwick, that they live in the United States. I mean, you just don't know.
Right, and they may stand there in their computer and do it all day long.
There seems to be plenty of people doing that.
And another thing too is that when we had our public hearings too about this, we've had people come in and it was very polarizing. We've had people who were extremely pro and extremely against, and there was no in between. There was nothing down the middle at all. And I'm afraid that we would run into that again. And if we did have some type of just a forum, you know, we wouldn't call it a public hearing, but we'd say, hey, you know, we want to get together tonight at the planning board and have people come in and talk about this. It's going to be extremely polarizing. It's going to be the usual suspects coming out here on both sides. You know, I think we just start off conservative. Very,
Well,
very,
yeah, I
very
think that's-
conservative.
That's wise, yeah.
I think we just start off very conservative. I think it's unrealistic to have an outright ban. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Oh, I agree.
I
What about
think-
consensus building? John Stoll did so much work with us with that consensus building over other small, what we thought was real tumultuous at the time, but something really small. I mean, that might be a public forum where
Yeah.
you present it as a consensus building forum might be a good option if we can.
Can we have a session within the Thursday night planning board
Yeah.
session? Like dedicate 30 to 45 minutes? Have it on the agenda, come in, and it's not really a public hearing, but it's a public forum, just to start things going, because to me, the biggest thing is where and how many.
And we could.
And I agree with you, we limit it,
Yeah.
and we need to have feedback from a wide consensus
And
of
we
the
could do
town.
what we did with the other consensus building that we've done. Remember, we like built tables, we had maps out, and I think we could probably all individually revisit that whole process because it's been a few years. But that
maybe we can ask John to come in and
I would
facilitate it.
John Stoll, we know you're watching at home.
I think, you know what? I mean, maybe we can ask John as a
might be at the
citizen to
meeting
come in and
Was
facilitate
that
it.
done as part of a regular meeting? I thought it was a workshop.
I think it was a workshop. I don't think it was a regular
Well,
meeting.
we could call it a workshop, or we could
Well, no,
dedicate a
but, I mean, there's
45-minute
some value
time
in not
slot.
having it be a part of our regular
Yeah,
meeting.
no.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that sort of gives a level.
A level playing
equality.
field,
And,
yep.
it's not like our meeting where we're sitting here in the fancy chairs. We're all sort of equal doing this together. But can I also suggest that at least something to think about is that we be no less stringent than our current rules on medical marijuana. So we have rules about where it can be located,
Right.
odor control, security, that we work on the assumption that medical marijuana should be more readily available than recreational marijuana, and that the rules should follow suit. As a starting point, we may not end up there, but just at least we have something here to look at to compare.
Well,
We've
certainly.
got, it can't be within 1,000 feet of a school, a drug and alcohol facility, a child care center, or other marijuana production facilities.
And it specifically states where it can be located.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that stuff can be carried right over to a retail.
Medical marijuana doesn't.
Oh, right.
I
Didn't
think
we
a lot of
say
those
for-
standards and statements and everything that's in there can be carried over to the same retail
Right.
ordinance as well. But, I mean, I think there are some other things that we want to think about relevant to the retail that you didn't necessarily have at your fingertips for the medical. And it's who's going to pay the most and how is the town going to prosper from having that in town. Being a host community of something like that, while they may pay taxes, again, you can go through an RFP process and the highest bidder can win.
Who would control that?
The
It would
town,
have to be, if it's
Selectmen.
money related, it would have to be the Board of Selectmen.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But whoever, I think you said, Dave, that we need to start, you don't start big and try to, you have issues and then you try to get a handle on it. By that time, it's done for.
Yeah.
So
That's
what
right.
you do is you start with, like we are with our the downtown overlay, our village overlay. You start small.
Right.
And then if you have good luck, then maybe you expand a little bit. But we just need to know some direction how we start.
You dip your toe in. That's, seriously, you dip your toe in,
Which
and then,
one?
and it's just like, it's much easier to start off conservative than just go all out, because then it's harder to scale back from that.
Well, by the same token, I'd also hate though to start small or conservative, if you will, and someone gets in the door and there's no benefit for the town either.
Yeah.
So you want to think about that.
But what is the town gonna benefit from? An application fee of $350 or something? I mean, I don't know.
No, there again, I mean, I think that you can put it out as a RFP process, and if someone says they're going to pay the town above and beyond their property taxes, for example, $10,000 a year to be located in this community, then that is part of the agreement that they would live by in order to be located here, especially if you limit it to one store or one grow facility.
Okay.
There's your community center.
Then there's,
They want to fund James's music festival.
well, that's right. I mean, someone may step forward and say that they're willing to fund something in support of the police department because of, added security or concern issues around having that type of facility here. But by putting it out to bid, gives the town an opportunity to gain something other than saying, well, retail marijuana is considered retail store, and someone comes in town, and what have you gained?
So that's going to have to be part of the ordinance then.
That's correct.
So
That's correct.
if we recommend to the selectmen that let's just say one,
Right.
and then that would be an RFP process, and then that's how it would go. Okay.
But that request for, that process, it's a deal that you make with someone who's willing to invest in that
Absolutely.
somewhere in town.
Absolutely.
And then if you're having great luck with that one person, then you have a deal that you probably give him a time period where he's all by himself.
It might be a 3-year period, a 5-year
3-year
period, before
period.
you go back out to bid again. And at that time, you may say, we're going to allow 3 stores in town or 3 grow facilities.
Well, that has to be legally written out.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Right now, marijuana is considered agriculture under our ordinance, is it not?
No,
Have you read?
no, I think I know in
I just
Wells
read
it
the
isn't, and I
definition of
think,
agriculture and the definition of marijuana. Sure looks like it's covered to me.
no, I have a feeling, I'll look that up.
Yeah, feelings
I
don't really
think, I
cut
think
it.
it says
It's-
marijuana is
When
not an
somebody's coming in here and
agricultural
is gonna
product.
sue us because we're
Well,
violating the law, feelings ain't gonna really do it.
It's all relative to where it's grown. If you grow it in a greenhouse, I would call that agricultural. If it's grown in a big warehouse, then I would not.
What's the difference between a greenhouse and a,
Medium. If it's in the ground
medical.
versus not in the ground, I guess.
yeah, I haven't seen those definitions,
There
but
is,
Making me hungry.
there isn't any.
Let's get in a case of the munchies now.
There's a gray area right
queso.
there.
Get some queso ASAP.
So, yeah.
well, I mean, is something that's recreational, is it still agricultural? I mean, there are definitions, and I think some
we-
towns have defined it. I know
medical-
Wells has.
medical
I'm not saying
marijuana
we
is-
can't, I just don't think we have yet.
Yeah.
Medical marijuana is defined, and then retail marijuana is being defined in this upcoming vote.
Yeah.
So they're
What
both
if,
defined.
what if somebody wanted to open up a
Well, but
vineyard
as
in
I read the
town?
definition of
Let's
marijuana
change
in our
the
ordinance,
substance from marijuana to
I don't
alcohol.
see
If somebody
why
wanted
it's
to open
not
up a
included
vineyard,
under
what would that
agriculture.
be? Agricultural.
Red or white?
Well, they're separate use.
Whoa.
You know, that
VCT
can be
music.
analogous, but
It doesn't grow as wine?
No, I said if somebody wants to open a vineyard, like let's look at
Oh.
it as a different, a different medium. If they wanted to open a vineyard and produce alcohol, because it's a drug, it's regulated. So is that agricultural or not?
I don't think we have a definition of a vineyard in the.
Yeah.
Maybe
Land
we
use
should.
ordinance.
Somebody
I'm
should
sure
open a
that's
vineyard in
agricultural.
Berwick.
Right, we
but
have,
you're
we have
looking at something that's got 8,000 years of history with something
Yeah.
that's brand new.
I agree. It's
There's a lot of history.
Well, Paul.
Marijuana brand
Well-
new?
I mean, a lot of it.
Something we-
When I was in high school,
Were you in the 60s, Paul?
on the planning board.
so agriculture is a separate use, and then marijuana is a completely separate use.
Yeah, marijuana is defined here, but it
own-
doesn't say that it's an agricultural use or
It
that
doesn't
it's.
say it isn't.
No,
it's-
no.
And as I read the definition of agriculture, it sure looks like marijuana cultivation to me.
Well, except that when you here's where the lines get drawn, and this is one of the reasons why we need to be very specific about it, because it's one thing to define marijuana as a plant that you may be able to grow outside, for example, but the preparation of the materials is going to be a manufacturing type of operation. I can tell you from having sat through several courses and things on this whole marijuana issue, a big-time grower that's going to want to supply, numbers of stores or whatnot, is not going to grow outside. They need to be in a negative aeration building with clean suits that will not produce mold to those plants. Those plants are their babies, and they are not going to be growing outside. They are going to be growing in a building with negative aeration, white suits. It's very high tech. I consider it more of a pharmaceutical, to be honest with you, than a, growing weed.
So it's like light industrial almost.
No, well, there's medical marijuana production facility. That's what it's defined as.
Yes.
But we're
Marijuana.
talking about retail marijuana.
But it may not be much different in the processing.
And there's a
from what
there's
CJ says.
retail.
The same kind of business.
Yeah.
The paperwork's
The
different.
retail marijuana
Taxes are
definition's incoming.
Yes, I mean, you've got a number of medical marijuana
James.
definitions
Recover.
here. I would need to go through each one of those, but that is all geared medical marijuana, which is going to be a completely different animal than retail. On the flip side, I just heard a piece on NPR yesterday that talked about retail marijuana operations in Washington State, and they're dying. They're dying because it's so popular, if you will, that growing right now is at $1,500 a pound, and that doesn't pay for them to grow and package.
Wow.
They're starving.
The law of supply and demand, once again,
Exactly.
covers the day.
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting because, we made it legal, so we've cut off the illegality of it coming into the country. But so many people have gotten into it that they're pushing each other out of business.
I mean, is the commercial recreational marijuana gonna kill the person that grows 2 plants in the back porch?
No.
No,
Probably
because if
not.
they're doing that, they're not gonna be
Yeah,
able
I
to
mean,
buy
who wants to-
at their
yeah.
own supply.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's a brave new world.
All right. Well,
I can
What have we
start,
learned?
put something together.
come on.
Some
you, have
of the-
any movements
the
you'd
first
like to
thing we should
make?
think about Is
Can't get a word in edgewise.
where in town, which zones in
That,
town
I agree.
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
think.
Where?
Right.
And how limited?
Well, let's figure out the where, and then the next one would be, is it one purpose per
Well,
district?
you're
Is
saying
it two, whatever?
R3, that's a big, I think if you're gonna,
Well,
even
the
if
You
it's
know, we
part of
might-
our.
I mean, I think as Dave put, we might want to be, say, routes 9, 236, and 4. And then the next we want to talk about is retail across the street.
Well, I think the first thing I'd
Certainly
like
four
to
good questions we could begin talking about and then go from there.
Yeah.
First thing I think we should do to help eliminate that is put circles on a map that talk about, where all the identify all the school locations, and not within 1,000 feet of those. Those areas are now eliminated.
I just like
whatever
putting
else-
everything out on Portland Street. Just put everything out on Portland Street. Put everything out there.
Whatever.
In the front lot.
No, I don't mean if you live on Portland Street, I don't mean that.
All the retail marijuana in the front lot.
But-
James is
But
cringing.
that's great logic, Dave, because you don't have a lot of residences, but you
That's
do
the
have
reason
some.
why.
But you do have the dog park,
But
fast food, and marijuana. What
don't-
else do you need?
You gotta put them near a bakery too.
And the
Bakery.
only reason, the only reason I say put it out on Portland Street is not that I have a problem with Portland Street, is because of that reason. It's mostly businesses out there, and you have there's not many residences out there. There's no schools out there. We have the Montessori
So
school,
let's
but
make-
that's it.
Let me make sure I understand this. We want people to be going to buy marijuana on the
main
on the
roads.
highest speed. That's where
We didn't
wanna
say we
send
want them
the
to
slowest
smoke it in
drivers there.
Berwick.
Yeah, that's what the
I've got a
chairman
funny
of the
feeling if
planning
they're
board would
buying it
like.
in Berwick, they're gonna be smoking it long before they get out of Berwick.
Yeah, I mean, you can go ahead and laugh, but you're gonna have to think about these things.
And I agree, and I
You
think
know,
we
and-
ought to think about it. We might laugh while we're thinking about it.
That's why I think you don't want to have it next to residences, schools, maybe church, a bunch of stuff. So it makes sense if it's next to a cement
We
plant,
know there's
the
a
cement
question
plant
across
doesn't
the-
really care.
We know the question across the street is gonna come up, we've already been forewarned. And then we traditionally put things like this, on 9, 236, and 4. Let's start there, and
Yeah.
then we'll worry about where we go after that.
But the other, what you got to think about also, let's say you put a commercial venture of marijuana across the street in the middle of the 7.5 acres, are you gonna scare away 49% of other people that don't agree with that concept? So you really, maybe not, you don't wanna
How many
mix
people
it
have
too
moved out
much.
of town because Cumberland Farm sells wine? and beer?
Exactly. Thank you. I second that.
And the answer may be some, but you know,
Right.
it's not something that I think we need to really
Well,
get over.
And now they
What
sell
you
it
wanna
on
think
Sundays
about.
too, which
And now
we
they sell it
like
on Sundays,
legitimately had to vote on.
Yeah.
Like 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
All right, do we have anything else for this meeting?
I just
I think
think
James
one
was
last
gonna tell
thing.
us something. but
I'm waiting till public comment.
We get
Oh, no,
unruly.
I was gonna go right to the adjournment, but you have something?
Yeah, I got something really cool.
Yeah.
Really important.
So Envision Berwick is moving our meeting time to the second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock. So anyone that's maybe potentially coming off the planning board, you want to join Envision Berwick?
Nope, I'm not joining any more boards.
Potentially there'll be a alternate position open for the planning board starting, because I assume you want to be a regular member.
December,
you're out.
well, I'm up at the end of December, so January. If you want
Okay.
to join the planning board, this is a lovely
Yeah,
seat.
there's plenty of opportunities to get involved, either Envision Berwick or planning board. There's spots open, so come to the town hall and we'll talk. Thanks.
It's a lot of fun.
Sure is.
Anybody else with anything before we move over to Sean?
I have one thing.
All?
So, at my age, I get confused
You know what he's
easily.
gonna say? You know, I've never done this at a meeting before.
So I'm looking at the word, we talked about it at the concrete plant, ready mix. And I moved stuff around in my book prior to the meeting because there was Northeast ready mix and I want to know, why did we have the Northeast ready mix in our folder then, if it's not, we dealt with the ready mix that came in tonight, not this one?
Because they're going to be coming on the next meeting.
All right, just premature
They
then.
were going to be
So
on this
hold on
meeting.
to it.
As I mentioned out during the site visit, they had submitted that and they thought that was gonna be their application. And I took the position on behalf of the board and said, you know, what you wanna do is a major operation. You just can't give us a plan like this and think you're gonna go to the planning board and get approved. I said, you need to come in with a real site plan. So please go away and
Give us a-
get a real application together.
Just hold on to it then.
Yeah, you
It has nothing
can.
to
It's
do with the
good
tonight's
informational,
ready
but
mix.
it's nowhere near anywhere ready to, for you folks to look at.
Anybody else? Next on the agenda is the adjournment.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the 5/17 planning board meeting for Berwick, Maine.
I second it.
All in favor?
Other minutes of that.